Session, the Honorable Judge Faine, be seated.
Are we ready for our jury? All right, Mr. Mullens, go get our jury. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Was everybody able to follow my instructions and admonitions over the break?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll give you a couple of seconds there to get oriented to your transcripts. All right. I don't. Are we?
People seriously, do you feel like, or when you say Annabelle up there, you need to know, you've told us everything, there's nothing else, okay? I don't know what's going to happen, that is not up to us, okay? I don't know, do you feel it? You keep saying that, do you feel like you should be? I don't think you should just do right. I don't know what's going to happen because those are decisions I can't make because that's not what I do. But I will tell you that, you being honest with us here today and cooperative and telling us what happened for Annabelle, that's what matters, okay? I don't control the future. I don't know what's going to happen to you. I know that, you're a young girl and you've got your whole future ahead of you. You just need to think about Annabelle, okay? And be proud of yourself for being honest today because a lot of people would have lied, A lot of people that don't care about their kids would have lied. Okay? Obviously, because you were honest. Okay? You obviously care about Annabelle. You're worried about, her resting, and you're worried about her. So this will help the doctors get everything processed, and then they can get the remains back to your family, and then you guys can plan whatever you guys want to do. What do they want to do? They want to do a funeral? They want to do... Okay. What do your parents want to do? Sure. We're just waiting for him to come back, and then, like I said, I think we're the only ones here. I don't know if there's anybody else here, so we have to wait for him to come back. So I think they were in a Speedway. They said they were going to get something, but I don't know. Actually, my phone was still on the floor while we were talking. I'm sure you heard it buzzing like crazy. I heard the phone going nuts, but hell, that could be anything. What kind of schedule do you work at the Y? Do you work like full time?
No.
Oh, okay.
2 days a week.
Oh, that's okay. Like how many hours?
4 to 20.
Oh, that's okay. How was like recovering from the birth? Was that hard? I know there's a lot of bleeding. Lots of bleeding. Do you have any complications? Are you worried about anything with your body or anything? Feel okay? You don't feel like you need to see a doctor? Have you seen a doctor since? Do you feel like you need to? Just to get checked out? Make sure you're okay? I know when I had a kid, I was 21. I felt like my entire insides were falling out, so I'm glad I saw a doctor. I think that might be what he's doing. I'm not sure. He's not texting me, so I don't. I mean, look, you and I are both stuck here for right now. I can't leave either. I'm guessing your parents don't know anything about what we talked about today. I'm sure they'll want to hear from you. I think they do. I have a 19-year-old. I know it would come better for me, or from my kid than it would anybody else. So that's probably a difficult conversation to have, I'm sure. I think you are an 18-year-old girl who just had a terrible situation that maybe they made some bad decisions on how to deal with. You know? I mean, you're young. You were all alone. You never told anyone. I don't think I could keep that. Like, that is a lot to keep to yourself. Do you ever want to tell your parents? Are you afraid they'd be mad at you, or... For a long time. I feel like that's my judgment call. Like I told you before, I don't judge. I feel like, you know, there's a whole host of things that were going on in your mind at the time, and that's really not up to me to decide. I try, you know, I've not been in your shoes. I mean, I was young when I had my daughter, but there's a different set of circumstances, you know? I don't know. I know your family. I don't know if you have the kind of parents that, like mine, probably would have killed me if I had, you know, if I got pregnant. They, you know, I really would have probably been really scared to tell them. But, you know, I was out of the house when I got pregnant, so it's a different circumstance. I do know, like I told you before, Skylar, you know, this isn't a situation where you had her throw in the trash. You've seen that on the news. People just throw their kids away like trash. You didn't do that. You tried to crib her, tried to bury her. You know, you tried to keep her close to you. I don't know if he's talking to them right now or not, so we'll have to wait for him to come back here. I don't know. No, I said he might be talking to them now. I don't know.
Yeah, but do you think they're taking me away?
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. It's not something I can... Oh, there he is. Sorry. You're fine. She just was worried about her parents and where they were.
That's where I've been talking.
I told her you probably were talking to them.
I've been talking to your parents. I haven't told them what we talked. I didn't tell them anything that we talked about today.
Yeah, I didn't tell them.
I didn't tell them literally anything that we talked about today. I just told her that your dad, I said, like I told you when I first called you, we had more questions that came up as a result of the coroner's investigation. I said, we're speaking with Schuyler. I said, she's being honest. I said, you know, still just a very remorseful remorseful. You probably too sorry. I just want to make sure you know that very remorseful young woman, and still a scared girl. I said, just being honest, she's helping answer a lot of the questions that, you know, resulted as a result of the examination from the doctors. And I said the stuff she is, you know, she's helping us understand. So, and that's where we are.
She just has expressed that she wanted to tell them, you know, what she shared with us.
And then I said, you're 18 years old. If you were still 17, you know, but you were close, that this would be a completely different situation. That's what I was telling your dad. I said, I'm sorry, it's not, you know, I don't have a reason to tell him that. And you've earned the right, because you're 18 years old and you're Annabelle's mom. You know, you have the right to be the one, you know, to do that. And I know that it's going to be hard. I know that, I'm sure. But
how do you want to do that here? Like, do you want her to talk to them and tell them? Like,
we get to go home?
She's asking you how you want.
I'm asking you if you wanted to do it here with.
No, I want to go home and tell them.
Okay, so you don't want to do it here. Okay, I'm just asking. I would want to do it here because I wouldn't want to be alone with them. But yeah, I was just curious. Okay. So, do we have a plan from here?
I had a water bottle and then that Diet Pepsi, so I'm going to step out to the restroom just for a second. That's my immediate plan. I'm sorry.
Do you want some water or
If
anything?
that's too
Are you
much
sure?
information, but I'll be right back. I
Okay.
have to step into
All
the...
right. I know. Yeah, me too. You won't, prison is like after, like you have to go to court first before you would go to prison. You have to go to court, talk to the judge, and then have to be able to set up and go to prison. Prison's like where you go to serve time if you get time. That's down the road. You'll either go home, you won't stay here because there's nowhere to stay. You might either go home with your parents, or if you go to jail or not, but it wouldn't be, you won't go to prison. I don't know that you'll ever go to prison. It's up to the judge. I think so. Probably. I don't know for what yet, though. That's the thing. Like, those are all decisions that somebody with a law degree makes. But yeah, you'll probably have to go to court. It could be for any number of things, but yeah. But that's your opportunity to talk to the judge like you talked to us, Schuyler, and be honest, and you know what I mean? I think that's going to be your biggest thing, is that you you wanna deal with what's happened.
Yes.
You care about Annabelle.
Do you hate me?
I don't hate you. I'm worried about you. I think you did the right thing today. That makes me not hate you. Like I said, you could have poured in the trash, you could have come in here and lied, you could have said, I don't give a shit about Annabelle. Instead, you came in here, you told us what happened, right? You told us what happened because you care about her. What do you think? How do you think they're going to feel after you tell them what happened? I don't know them, so... Understanding of what? Skylar, you're 18. I wouldn't say never. You've got a whole life in front of you. Like I told you, you don't have a magic wand, I don't have a magic wand. Neither one of us can erase what happened, but you can deal with it, whatever that means. I don't know what that looks like. But you deal with it, whatever that means. You get through it, you learn from it, and then you move on. You have a whole life ahead of you. You're 18. Okay? You have a whole life ahead of you. Someday you'll be old like me at 41, and this will all be behind you. It won't take that long, but I'm just saying. You know? When you're 41? I don't think so. Yeah, they don't keep anybody here. This is just like they just have their rooms here. I don't even know if you're going to jail. When did you turn 18? March what? About talking to parents again? I bet you do. It's pretty scary, but we're here. We're not going to go anywhere. We'll figure out what's happening. Absolutely. Look at her. to define the rest of your life. I can't read this one because I have to stay with you, but as soon as he comes back in, I'm not allowed to leave you here alone, okay? I gotta make sure you're safe. It just feels like the end of the world right now. But you just have to just get through it. Face it. Get through it. Okay? You can't change it. You can't fix it. You can't go back and do anything different. You just have to get through it. Okay? How life works. We've all screwed up. We've all done stupid stuff. You just have to work through it. Take whatever consequences there are and just move forward. You're 18. Okay? Your whole life ahead of you. Get through this, and it's going to change you. You'll be a completely different person. So you get through this, and then you move forward. That's what you gotta do. One day at a time, right? Welcome to being an adult. It's not as fun as I make it sound. What's your mom's name? Kim? What's your dad's name? Okay. You're the only child? Oh, how old is he? You guys are kind of close in age. Does he live with you guys? Do you have any suspicion you were pregnant or anything? Did anybody? Seems like it would be hard to hide because you're so tiny. Yeah. You just do that anyway. Yeah. Big sweatshirts, hoodies. You think so? Fingers were cramping up. No, you're fine. You're fine. You're just cramping a little bit.
Is that illegal?
It's not our call. We're just waiting to hear what they want us to do. You know what I said, no matter what happens. 1 day at a time. Right? 1 minute at a time if you have to. Just take it a little, you know.
Oh, God.
It's gonna be okay eventually. Not right away, but eventually. Of course. Honestly, Skylar, I do not know. I mean, I honestly don't know until we finish our interviews with people and get them talking and know all the facts. Then we call our boss and say, what do you want us to do? It's not even our decision that we make. I hope it won't be too much longer. I'm not sure what they're doing out there, so I'm assuming that they're waiting for a phone call. But those are decisions that are made by other people, not us. And they kind of tell us what to do. It's pretty much how life works. Everybody has a boss, right? Well, when I was 20, my mom was killed. My stepdad killed her. And it sucked for quite a while, and then things got better, slowly. At the time, however, I thought that my life was over, and I was not going to make it. So, might be how you're feeling today. Like it's over, life's over. Anyway, it's not true. You feel that way, though. No amount of me telling you that you shouldn't feel that way or that it's not going to happen will help, but on. It's up to the knowledge, though, that you did the right thing and you told everything. I think that's far more important than anything else, because you have to look at that. You know, if you would have lied and continued to not tell the truth and, you know, not really put everything to rest, you would have to look at that, you know? That's important. You did the right thing. For Annabelle, ultimately for you, for your family, so that they know what happened, and for you, so you don't have to look at that all by yourself. It's a lot to hold on to with no one else knowing. I think it might have eventually made it really hard just keeping all that inside.
I just couldn't. I love my brother.
I won't do any of it. That's all up to a judge. I don't make those decisions either.
I just have to do it.
Well, it depends on what you're charged with. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what charges there would be and all of that. I mean,
Can I be just alive?
I don't know. I don't think so. Can't. Like your whole life? Like forever until you die? I don't think so. Seems really unlikely. Like none of that is up to me. That's all up to the judge. That you'll have an opportunity to talk to. So the person that makes those decisions, Schuyler, you'll have a chance to talk to. It's going to be on the other side of the door, okay? It's right here. So, here's the deal. I think you already know that you're not going home. We just got the answer. So, my question for you is, you've been so cooperative with us, we want to extend you every courtesy. Do you want to talk to your parents here before you go? Do you want to do that, or do you just want to wait and talk to them later? It's totally up to you. I know that's up to a judge. Like I told you, I'm not BSing you. All of these decisions from here on out are up to a judge. So when you get out, all this kind of goodness. But my question right now, which we can control, is: do you want to have a conversation with your parents so that they understand why you're going, or do you not? It's up to you. You're 18. You can do whatever you want to do. Do you want to talk to them here? We would be in the room just because we have to make sure everybody's safe. Do you want to talk to them here, or do you just want to have a conversation with them later? That is up to you. No one's judging you, whatever you decide to do. I mean, if you want to talk to them, the problem is if you want to talk to them, they're going to want to know why you're going to jail. We have not told them anything. You are 18.
Yeah, I have not lied to you. I have told your mom and dad.
They know nothing. They don't know you're going to jail. So
all I told them there was more evidence through the forensic examination, just like I told you when we started. I said, and Skylar's being honest. I feel like she's being honest with us. That's all I told them. I said,
that's why we wanted to know if you want to talk to them or not. Or we can just tell them that we can't tell them anything because you're 18 and that you're going to. They're going to see. I mean that. I'm just asking you because they're going to see it eventually. You know how the news is. You know how they've already been. They're ridiculous. So they're going to see whatever they decide to charge you with. They're going to see that. So it's up to you if you want to have that conversation over the phone when you're in jail, or if you want to have it here before you go. We're just asking what you want to do. It's up to you. We could tell them whatever you want us to tell them. We're not going to really tell them anything because you're 18. But it's up to you if you want to talk to them here, or you want to just. They can find out later. Eventually, I mean, we talked about that. You're 18, you know, one day at a time. But yeah, I mean, at some point, you'll be able to talk to a judge and you can decide what conditions that you can go home on or not, or what it's going to happen. It's all up to the judge, the dude that wears the black robe, not us. Yeah, but you know they're going to ask you. That's part of it.
But you know, we can't speculate what it'll be like. You may be here and they ask you, but you could say, this is up to you. You could say, I don't want to talk about it. I wanted to see you before they took me. Or, you know,
you can tell them as little or as much. You're 18, so you can say, I'm done, I don't want to talk anymore, I just wanted to say goodbye, and then we'll make them leave if you want. That's all down the road.
Oh yeah, you're thinking so far ahead, you know.
That's way down.
No, it's your.
No, what's going to happen is you'll see a judge in a couple days, okay?
What is today?
Today's Thursday.
She will see a judge at Franklin Court tomorrow, probably, because they have Friday.
Yes.
You will see a judge tomorrow.
So you'll be able to talk-ish to a judge tomorrow. He'll decide if you're going to stay in jail or not. And then there'll be a series of court things that happen after that, okay? It's not all immediate, but it's always up to the judge when you're going to get out of jail, okay? But you will talk to a judge tomorrow, okay? You want to say goodbye? Okay, where are they at? I'll just get them. You're going to all right. One day at a time, okay? One day at a time. Waiting for
You think the judge will be nice?
You know, judges are usually just pretty, like, especially the first time you talk to him, it's really going to be very, like, his job is to make sure, you know, these are what your charges are, do you understand those? Like, that's going to be his role, and then, you know, figuring out what to do from there. So it's not going to be a long saying tomorrow would be pretty quick. And then the hearings after that, once you get an attorney and, all the court system, if, whatever happens, then things will be a little bit different. So it's a whole process that happens.
Would the judge possibly let me come home?
Yeah, sometimes they'll do like, you have to put up a, bond, like your parents have to put up bonds. The judge decides all of that. He might have you be like, I don't know, there's people with like monitors on their ankles. Sometimes he does that. Sometimes you're on house arrest. Sometimes, there's all kinds of things that can happen. He can release you, he can keep you. He can tell you where you are allowed to go or not go if you are released, all those kinds of things. So there's a whole host of things that the judge can do, and he pretty much makes those decisions and tells you what you have to do. They're jail clothes. They're not prison. They're just like scrubs. You've seen scrubs before? Yeah, they're just scrubs, different colored scrubs. They'll do all that when you get there. Do you have anything in your pockets that you want your parents to take? Like anything at all? Jewelry that you want them to take? No, they'll make you take all your jewelry off. So if you don't want to take it in there, you want to give it to your parents, I would do that. Just because that looks like nice, real gold stuff. So give them any jewelry you have. Because they're going to take your property and put it in a bag and put it in a locker, but I just wouldn't want anything that meant a lot to me to go there. They will, or they'll appoint you one. That'll all happen when you go to court. They'll ask you. But just give them any jewelry they can have so that you don't have to worry about it. Make sure your pockets are empty and all that kind of stuff. You don't have anything in there. Nothing hidden in your bra. It's in Lebanon. You ever been to juvenile court or get fingerprinted or anything like that? Did you get fingerprinted to work at the Y? Okay. It's just done in Lebanon, like where all the government buildings are. So you have to get a passport? Okay. So you know the building where you got your passport, right? On the opposite side of the street, kind of behind the small building is where the jail is.
I'll sleep there. I'll sleep there.
Yeah. any water? I'm just going to grab some. You sure you don't want any?
No, I can't.
You might be just tossing it in just to kind of prepare them. You sure you don't want a cup of water? You sure? I honestly cannot remember. Every court has different times that they do video arraignments, and I can't remember what time Franklin courts are tomorrow. I know some of them are at like 11 a.m. So what will happen is you'll either be on a video monitor, like a TV monitor, where you'll talk to the judge, or they'll take you up there to actually go to court. And I don't know which one it is, because I hardly ever come to Franklin court. I can't remember, but one of the two will happen. Either take you up in a bus, or you'll stand on a video monitor sometime tomorrow. I just can't remember what time theirs are. I want to say 11, but I think that's county court.
Okay, do you end up having to stay in jail after that visit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have, you can make phone calls, you can have visitors. There's specific days and times that people can come visit you, and they have to be like on, you have to know, like, they have to check them out, make sure, whatever. But yeah, you can have visitors, you can use a phone. They have like a phone system you can set up, that your parents can set up, and all that. So you won't just like be there, without being able to talk to anybody.
What happened to the doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you leave?
So it depends on how full they are and where they have space. Sometimes, like, parts of the jail are just like individual, like, cells or rooms. Parts of it is like a dorm, like where you have rooms and you have like a big common area. So it really just depends on where they have room to put you. I don't know how many females are in there right now. So initially you'll probably go in like one of those rooms where it's just you, kind of for like the intake stuff, and then they'll figure out where they're going to put you. I think they're going to make sure that you're safe. We always try to make sure people are safe. You're young, so they'll probably keep you separate.
That's a detective from my department, Brandy, who's been here with me today. She is in here with us. What happens is
You take my jewelry from me? Okay, I'll see you guys later, hopefully.
Connie, tell us what's going on. He says you have to tell us. You're 18. You can't tell us.
I tried to cremate the baby just a little.
You tried to cremate the baby?
Yeah, and then I didn't. And, well, now that I think I'm really thinking you think
So you delivered a live baby, is that what you're saying?
yeah, but I wasn't really sure. I didn't think she wasn't going to get a heartbeat. Do you still love me?
We still love you, but this is a horrible mess.
Yeah. Okay.
I love you.
I love him. And Jack, you don't know, he's the best buddy ever. Nobody doesn't know this. I'm going to be.
She absolutely has to go. She absolutely has to go to jail now. Yeah.
May I continue?
Sir, there were several times in that interview where you told her that you didn't believe that she purposely killed her baby. Do you remember hearing that?
Yes, I do.
Why were you saying that?
We're at the part of the interview where I felt like and was pretty certain she was getting closer to confessing and telling us more of the truth. And just from experience of interviews over the course of my 20-year career, her behavior wasn't anything that was out of the normal or atypical, so to speak. And a lot of times if the person talking to you just gets completely focused on the negative outcome or just thinking, what are you going to do to me? What are you going to do to me for I've done? Things just stall right there.
Okay. And so what do you try to do to prevent that from stalling?
Just redirect her, and instead of dwelling on the consequences, just to be honest, just to try to get to the truth and go ahead and not focus on what the possible outcome is, because none of us even know what that outcome could be, but just getting her to be comfortable enough to tell the truth.
Okay. And after that, I'll strike that. Sir, during the course of your investigation, did you, along with Detective Carter, interview members from Hilltop OBGYN?
We did, yes, sir.
And specifically on July 24th of 2017, was one of the people that you interviewed Michelle Prophet?
Yes, she was.
What is Ms. Prophet's relationship to the defendant, Ms. Richardson?
I believe she was her aunt. She identified herself as Skylar's aunt.
And what is Ms. Prophet's position there at Hilltop OBGYN?
I think she was the office manager in the office there.
I want to direct your attention to August the 2nd of 2017. Were you present when a buccal swab was collected from an individual by the name of Trey Johnson?
Yes, I was.
And who collected that swab, sir?
Detective Carter.
Could you explain to the jury the process by which she collects a buccal swab?
Detective Carter and I went to Trey's residence and made contact there. And it's actually what he's talking about, the buccal swab. A more simpler way to put it, it almost just looks like a big Q-tip. It's something that you will just take and rub on the inside. The person will take and rub on the inside of their mouth, just getting DNA from inside there on the Q-tip. Then we'll package it and put it into evidence.
I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 91. Can you take a look at that and tell me whether you recognize what you're looking at?
We will stipulate, Your Honor.
Again, this is an evidence slip.
Hold on just a second. Does that satisfy the state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, they stipulate. Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Rickers, you may inquire.
Good morning, Lieutenant Faine.
I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning.
July 14th of 2017, almost 2 years ago, you drove out.
I'm sorry. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Not sure. It looks like the microphone's on, Your
If
Honor.
you give me just 1 second. Actually, I have hearing loss and I have hearing aids in, and I'm going to turn them,
Go ahead.
turn the volume up. Voice is just a little bit quieter than Mr. Knippen's voice, so let me turn up my volume. Okay, thank you.
Let me know.
Yes,
July 14th, more than 2 years ago, 2017,
yes,
you go out to the Richardson home, correct?
yes, sir.
And you went out because there was a report from Hilltop that Schuyler had delivered a stillborn baby and buried her in her backyard, correct?
Yes, correct.
And when you arrived, shortly thereafter, Scott Richardson, Skylar's dad, pulls up in his truck, correct?
That's correct.
And you said you wanted to speak with his daughter.
Correct.
And he says she's at her grandmother's house, but I can get her here very soon, correct?
Yes.
And she arrives within minutes.
Yes.
And you told Scott that she was not in trouble, correct?
I told Skylar she was not in trouble.
Scott. You told
Oh,
Scott.
Scott, that is not in trouble. I don't recall saying she was not in trouble. I just recall telling him we had a report and I needed to ask her questions about it, that she would be the one either to corroborate it or basically tell us it wasn't true.
So Schuyler rides with her dad in his truck to the Carlisle police station, correct?
Yes, correct.
And in that 6x8 windowless room, Schuyler details for the first time what happened in the early morning hours of May 7th to you and Officer Gee, correct?
Correct.
And she has no lawyer present, correct?
Correct.
Schuyler told you that Annabelle had no heartbeat, correct?
Yes.
She was not moving.
Correct.
She was not breathing.
Correct.
She told you she delivered a dead baby, correct?
Correct.
And you did not write a police report in this case, correct?
Correct, I did not.
But you are familiar with Detective Carter's report, correct?
Yes.
And you reviewed that.
Yes, I'm not sure if I was the one that signed on that or not, because I haven't seen it. Like you said, it's been a couple years, but most likely I would have been the one to sign it off.
And it's about a 10-page, I can show it to you if you'd like to see it, but it's about a 10-page single-spaced report from the lead detective, Detective Carter, correct?
That sounds correct.
Okay. And it's important in a police report to be objective. You'd agree with that, correct?
Yes.
And it's important because judges rely on police reports on occasion, correct?
Yes.
Prosecutors rely on it,
Correct.
and defense lawyers rely on it.
Correct.
And what that means is that it's important to put both sides of the story in the report, not just one side. Is that correct?
What do you mean by both sides?
Well, when I say you agree that you should be objective, right?
Yes, we should just be reporting what the facts that we're ascertaining from the investigation, yes.
And if new facts arrive later, you can always supplement your report, right?
Yes.
And you're trained to do that if new important facts arrive
Correct.
later.
Yes, when needed, yes.
And in fact, in this case, Detective Carter had numerous different dates in her report, even all the way into August, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the line of questioning. Can we approach?
You may. Continue.
Thank you. So any important information that you find during the investigation should go in the police report, correct?
Yes.
And you have reviewed Detective Carter's report, correct?
Yes.
You might have even signed off on it, correct?
Yes, possibly. It would have been a long time, probably 2 years ago, but yes.
All right. And she didn't put in her report anything about Schuyler being confused about this conversation about burning, correct?
I'm not familiar, I don't recall. Like I said, it's been over 2 years since I've seen that.
If
That is possible, but without a copy of the report, I wouldn't know.
And as I find the report, oh, here it is. I'm going to give you may I approach it on?
You may.
This is a copy of the report. There's some notes on it that I
Thank
have.
you.
And if you ever want time to review it, just let me know, and we can do that. That report bait stamp on the top right is what number?
Yes.
What's the number of the bait stamp? Top right.
You're talking about the 17 CR 33292?
Is it 37 on the top right there?
36 on top.
36?
Yes, sir.
And if you flip to the last page, how long is that report?
46.
So it's a 10-page single-spaced report, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In the report, there's nothing in there about Schuyler denying burning 17 times, correct?
I'm sorry, what was the quantity? How many times?
That she denied burning at all.
Oh. And when you ask that question, I assume, are you referring to the interview on the 20th?
I'm referring to the report. If there's anything in the report that the detective gave the defense, the prosecutor's office, the judge in this case, as to Schuyler saying there was no burning.
Would you like me to read that in order? I feel like I will probably have to read it to answer that question.
If you may have.
Why don't we do this? Why don't you go ahead and review that for a second? Mr. Mullens, Ms. Yezel, I neglected after the statement to go ahead and collect the transcripts. Why don't you do that while Mr. Faine has the opportunity to read that over?
I'll try to be brief.
Go ahead.
I think I'm ready.
Go ahead.
No, I do not see anything in here where she wrote or detailed Schuyler denying burning the baby.
But what she did write in her report is that ultimately, and I'm on page 38 if you look at the top number.
Thank you.
Third paragraph,
Thank you.
middle. Ultimately admitted, she did say at first denied, but didn't say 17 times. Ultimately admitted that she tried to cremate her and that she took her outside, dug the hole, and then used a long lighter at her feet to burn her. Then when the flames reached chest level, she realized it was wrong and put out the fire. That's what she put in her report, correct?
Correct.
And she also put in her report that an anthropologist, and I'm back on page 37, at the bottom, relayed to you through Coroner Updegrove that Dr. Murray, the anthropologist, advised that the remains of the infant had been burned, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's nothing in the report about Schuyler saying that Annabelle was white when she was delivered, correct?
Not that I see here, no.
Nothing about, nothing in the report that Schuyler said she had no heartbeat, correct?
I don't know if that part's in there or not. I haven't seen it yet, but I do not know.
Nothing in the report that Schuyler said her baby wasn't moving when she was delivered, correct?
Possibly correct, that it's not there.
Okay. And in this report, there's nothing in the report that Dr. Murray later changed her opinion and said, I was wrong. She didn't put that in there, did she?
I don't see that in here, but I can't see why Detective Carter would document that in her report, because that's a separate part of the investigation and not something that we would necessarily document.
Well, she put in the report something from Dr. Murray the first time, right? Saying the remains of the infant had been burned. She put that in there, right?
Yes.
Page 37. But then,
Yes.
and you were familiar with these emails, weren't you, Lieutenant Faine, that Dr. Murray said there was no source of magnification available at the morgue. I have a feeling the prosecutor's office will be sorry they asked for a second opinion on this, but I'm glad they chose you. You're familiar with Dr. Murray's emails to the prosecutor's office, are you not?
I am not. Whatever you just read there, that was the first time I've ever heard that. I'm not sure whose email that was, but that was the first time I've heard that.
But you agree with me that Dr. Murray changed and admitted that she was wrong, correct?
Yes, I do.
And she said there's no evidence of burning, correct?
From what I recall, she had initially said there was charring, and then on her second review, she didn't notice it, that there was charring. Correct. So
And-
basically, as you're saying, changed her opinion, yes.
And the prosecutor's office hired Dr. Latham, who we all heard from, correct? Did you know that?
I did meet her, yes.
Okay. And again, nothing in the report that Dr. Murray changed her opinion about the burning, correct?
Correct, I don't believe so.
Okay. There was hair found, right? When you dug up Annabelle, you found some hair, correct?
I believe there was, yes.
No singeing, no burning, correct?
I do not know. I didn't do that part of the investigation, and I never saw a report that detailed whatever was found through the forensic examination, so I don't know for sure on that.
There was no evidence of any fire around the gravesite, correct? You were out there.
Again, I didn't see their report, but based on my initial observation, I'm not an expert in that. Everything was kind of black and decayed there, so I can't say that that was fire. I can't say that it wasn't. I'm not trained in that.
Well, you're familiar with the 3 different samples you sent off to the state fire marshal, are you not?
Yes.
You did send samples from the gravesite off to the
Samples
fire.
were sent, yes.
And the fire marshal said no ignitable liquid was detected in exhibits 1, 2, and 3, correct?
Yeah, I think I might be able to help this along some. I think where you might misunderstand is a lot of this stuff, most of this stuff I wasn't doing. Like the forensic stuff I was doing. The case was assigned to Detective Carter. So my primary responsibilities in the criminal investigation section as the lieutenant are running the section. And again, like I had said the other day, the reason I became initially involved in the interviews is I didn't have any detectives available at the time. So some of these answers as far as I'm not sure which detective or if it would have been a member of our crime scene unit who actually, when the samples were sent off to the fire marshal. Some of this stuff I won't be familiar with just because it wouldn't have been my responsibility. So it's certainly not one to answer your question, but just some of it I wasn't a part of.
Okay. After the first interrogation on July 14th,
Yes, sir.
the sheriff's department gave a press release at 8 p.m. that night. Although the remains have not yet been identified, initial reports have led investigators to believe they are that of a stillborn baby. You're familiar with that, correct?
Yes.
And everything changes. There were no arrests, correct?
Correct.
No charges.
No charges, no arrest.
And Dr. Boyce, she told you that Schuyler told her she had a stillborn as well, correct?
Yes.
And Dr. Boyce believed her?
Did Dr. Boyce believe her?
Yes.
I'm not certain if she did.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I have told you earlier, sometimes I allow witnesses to answer questions that are used by you, the answers at least, to explain why they did the things that they did, or so that you can evaluate the credibility of the witnesses. But if something is outside of the factual knowledge of this witness, then you are to disregard it as you will with that answer. So, Mr. Rickers, if you could please confine your inquiry to those parameters.
Yes, Your Honor. So back on July 20th, so 6 days after the first interrogation, you and Detective Carter schedule another interrogation with Schuyler, correct?
Yes.
Now, at the time, you believe Dr. Murray, the information she provided to you that the bones have been charred, right?
Correct.
And at the time, you did not know that many weeks later she would change that opinion, correct?
Correct.
So, after you get that information from Dr. Murray that later turned out to be false, you send a new team back to the Richardson household, correct?
We did go back to the the house, yes. But I want to correct you there where you say, I don't know if you're wanting me to agree that the information turned out to be false. There's no evidence that the information turned out to be false. She did change her story. I just want to make sure you weren't wanting me to agree that the information was now false, that there was a fire.
What I'm referring to on being false is Dr. Murray said I was wrong.
Correct.
I rushed
Dr.
to
Murray
judgment,
changed her opinion, yes, sir.
And she said there is no evidence of burning. You're familiar with that, right?
Yes, that she saw no evidence, yes.
Yeah, and no one in this case has seen any evidence of burning. Do you know that?
I'm sorry?
Every doctor that has testified in this case and will testify agrees there's no evidence of burning, correct?
Correct, but they will also agree that that doesn't have anything to do with whether or not there was a fire, that there would be a fire. There could still be a fire without evidence of burning, well, according to Dr. Sims at least.
I guess anything's possible, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, well, yes, sir.
And if you really thought, well, so on the second visit to the Richardson home,
Yes, sir.
You visit the gravesite again, correct? Your team.
The team did, yes, sir.
They find more bones that were missed in the first search, correct?
Yes.
They start digging up the fire pit, correct?
I believe they did, yes.
And they found chicken bones.
I know they found bones that were not of a human origin. I don't know that they were chicken, but I will take your word on that.
So while the team is at Skylar's house, you and Detective Carter have her back at the Carlisle police station, correct?
Yes, sir.
And her dad took her back there again, correct?
I believe so, yes.
No lawyer.
There's no lawyer present.
And obviously her parents weren't with her in that room, correct?
Correct.
You and Detective Carter are both very experienced in the Reek technique for interrogations, correct?
Detective Carter, maybe. I am not very experienced in it.
Reed, R-E-I-D technique. You're familiar with it?
No, I understood the question. I'm sorry. I said Detective Carter, maybe. I'm not sure how experienced she is in it, but I do not consider myself very experienced in it.
When you're back there on July 20th, you're there because you want to get statements from Schuyler about burning and statements about a live birth because of this information that Dr. Murray gave you. Is that correct?
No.
Well, you'd agree with me that Schuyler repeatedly refused to accept the words that Detective Carter and you gave her about burning and fire, correct?
I agree that she initially and several times denied that, yes.
And ultimately she was broken down and she said she tried to cremate Annabelle just a little bit, right?
Can you define broken down?
Well, do you agree that you and Detective Carter were pretending that the main purpose of your interrogation of her was to help get Annabelle's remains back to her family for a proper burial?
Would I agree that that was my main purpose?
That that's what you led Schuyler to believe?
I know we alluded to that. I can't say I necessarily agree that we made it clear to her that was our main purpose, but that was certainly one of the things that we hope we would be able to accomplish.
And at the time, you were aware that Scott, Schuyler's dad, had asked for Annabelle because the family and Schuyler wanted to do a proper memorial, correct?
Yes, sir.
And to date, you still have Annabelle, correct? Your office?
Yes, I believe so.
The word cremate was used multiple times by you and Detective Carter before Schuyler gave you the word back, is that correct?
Yes, the word was used by all three of us, yes.
And you and Detective Carter used that theme, cremation, multiple times before she used that word, is that correct?
No, I guess I wouldn't say used a theme. The word was used, but I'm not sure what you mean by creating a theme. I guess I don't feel like I had a theme that I was trying to create. But yes, I will agree I used that word several times as well as Detective Carter.
And after you started to talk about this supposed cremation, you talked about needing to put out this fire, correct? You remember that?
Yes, sir.
And that you wondered if you'd need water to put out the fire, right?
Yes, sir.
And we're talking about touching a baby with a lighter and having a fire, right?
Correct.
Okay. Like the fire, you also Skyler had repeatedly in the July 14th and in July 20th interview told you that her baby wasn't alive in many different ways, right?
On July 14th, yes.
And on July 20th.
On July 20th, we weren't very far into the interview before she told us, I think I might have killed her.
When she cried and she said, I loved her, that is what we're talking about, the confession. When I loved her.
No, I'm talking about when she looked at us and said, I think I might have killed her.
Because you told her that the doctors knew more than everyone. They'd been poking and sifting her remains. Was it after that?
No, because she told me she...
Overruled. Go ahead and answer.
Lieutenant Faine, babies are 80% water, are they not?
I do not know the exact percentage, but it sounds accurate. I know at least 75.
More than adults.
Yes, sir.
And you can hold a lighter. I could stand up here in front of this jury and hold a lighter to my hand or my leg. For 2 hours, I wouldn't catch on fire. You'd agree with that, wouldn't you?
I believe without some additive or something to accelerant, like an accelerant type, I believe, yes, that's probably correct, unless it was hair.
Yeah. And hair was found. There was no burning on the hair. I'll represent that to you.
Okay, that's what you'd say to Jess.
And again, the fire marshal report, 3 samples sent to them from the grave site, no accelerant used, or no
Correct.
accelerant found, right?
Yes, sir.
And you know what touch DNA is?
Yes. Well, basically.
And there was a DNA expert that the prosecutor called in here to testify. And she said that she was never sent. I know that you all took pictures of lighter fluid that Scott used for his fire pit out of his house. She said that you never sent her any of the lighter fluid bottles or anything like that for touch DNA. Is that true?
Yes.
When you just mentioned the second interrogation, Detective Carter said something to Schuyler about, when you squeezed her, that's when you think she stopped breathing. Do you remember that? And Schuyler said, I didn't think she was alive before. You remember that?
Yes.
And then, but Detective Carter is focused, and so were you, on trying to get the signs of life from Schuyler. So, Schuyler, I said again after that, I didn't think she was breathing when she came out. Remember that?
I recall multiple times, yes, where, and it gets a little hazy because she changed her story so many times. So without having a complete transcript, I can't remember exactly what spot in the interview those things took place. But yes, sir, I do remember multiple times she made reference to her not being alive, and multiple times she made reference to her being alive. But I don't know, I can't exactly put a chronology on it just because it's such a long interview.
She said it herself. You guys made her start second-guessing herself. You remember that? She was second-guessing herself?
I don't recall her saying that. If it's in the transcript or on the video, I'm sure she did.
Can you please play 201?
The only way you're going to feel like you accidentally did that is if you had some reason to know she was alive before that. You see what I'm saying?
The way you were just saying, like,
I'm saying?
like, if anything, maybe I just maybe second-guess myself.
Do you remember that?
I do, yes.
Do you remember Schuyler saying, I want her to be at rest?
Yes.
And that she wanted Schuyler and she deserved a proper memorial and burial?
Yes, sir.
But like the fire issue, you and Detective Carter refused to accept that Annabelle was dead upon delivery. Is that true?
Refused to accept that she was dead upon birth?
Yeah, you denied Schuyler those statements that she'd repeatedly made, 29 plus times.
We don't refuse or accept. We're there merely as investigators. We're investigating. And again, like I said, Schuyler's behavior wasn't different from so many interviews that we have, and as we don't even have the benefit of knowing Schuyler before this time, and as we all saw, even her parents who've known her for 18 years, he said they have trouble telling when she's lying or not because she does so much. So we don't have that benefit, but we sit there, we try to get to the truth, and So we don't refuse to accept her questions. We just continue to ask questions.
And one of these truths that you found is that the child caught fire by being touched with a lighter, and the flames went up to her chest, and there was a whole conversation about how to put that fire out. That's one of the truths that you found. Is that right?
According to Schuyler, yes.
Now let's talk about DJ Chambers. The prosecutor gave you a buccal swab that you were going to talk about. You said a big Q-tip.
Yes, sir.
Now, on July 14th, Officer Gee asked Skylar if she knew who the father was, and Skylar said yes. You remember that?
Yes.
And her parents on July 14th said, who's the father? And she said, a guy named Trey. Remember that?
Yes.
And you talked to Brandon Saylor in this case as well, didn't you?
Yes, I think not until it went to grand jury, but I believe we talked to him day of grand jury.
August 4th.
Okay, yes, sir.
And he told you that DJ was a football player. You asked him about DJ. Do you remember that?
I don't recall. I'm sure, yes, if it's in transcript. Yes, we asked him about that.
Your Honor, can we approach again? I'm sorry.
You may. Mr. Rickers, you may continue.
Thank you. It's normal to be nervous for a police interview, correct?
I'm sorry?
It is normal to be nervous for a police interview, correct?
I would, yes, believe so.
And when you interviewed Brandon Saylor, he had an attorney present with him, correct?
Correct.
And you talked to Brandon about the text message from Skylar to Brandon on May 7th that we've heard a lot about, where she referred to being happy and her belly being back. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And by the way, she also said that the night was traumatic. She said that, didn't she, in her text?
She did say it was traumatic?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so, yes.
And when you talked to Brandon about it, he told you that, well, you're familiar with his response, right? I'm sorry you had to go through that alone, babe.
I'm not. I've not seen even to this, I've not seen a transcript from that interview. And also, prosecutors were conducting that interview primarily. I was there conducting it as well, but for the most part, they were conducting that one. And it's been a long time, and I'm not familiar with what was said in that interview.
Well, you remember discussing the text message on May 7th, right?
Yes.
And you remember this JF, that's you, John Faine,
Yes, sir.
right? 217, top 217. Okay, I mean, and that sounds completely reasonable. And you know, you're her boyfriend, and you hate it that she's going through that. So it says, me too, babe. And she said, I'm so glad it's over. Me too, babe. This is you. I'm so glad you're done feeling bad, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. And I'm just clarifying again, this is still in your mind right now. This is inaudible. Two mornings after prom, it's just a horrible period or horrible cramping that she had, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the text message about Skylar's body or putting a smile on for the outside world, that's something that Brandon, Skylar's mom, they got text message about Skylar's body for years, right?
Oh, I don't know anything about their text messages between them.
You agree that Brandon did not know Skylar's pregnant until July 14th, right?
Yes, sir.
We've heard a lot of testimony about Skylar's bed being moved. And
Yes, sir.
You talked to Mr. Knippen about that. Ms. Kraft and Ms. Knippen were in that interview with Brandon Saylor, right?
Yes.
And they were both asking some questions during that interview, correct?
I think they both did. Again, it's just been a long time. I assume maybe they both did. I know certainly Mr. Knippen did.
And Brandon told you in that interview that...
Objection.
I'll sustain the objection.
What's the objection, Your Honor?
The objection sustained.
You're familiar that Brandon helped move the bed in Skylar's bedroom, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're familiar that not only did he help move Skylar's bed, he helped move a couch that was downstairs in the living room to the basement, right?
Possibly, yes. I don't recall, but if it's in the transcript, then yes.
And the basement couch up to the living room, right?
If it's in the transcript, yes.
Do you remember having a conversation that the Richardson family just wanted a change after the police had been through their house?
I do remember him saying something about someone wanting a change.
Remember you saying it, and that is understandable.
Oh, I would certainly think after what took place, yes, that would be understandable.
You familiar that Skylar's bed moves around in her room all the time?
Am I familiar that she moved her bed all the time?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
You've seen 3 pictures with it in different spots, correct?
I think I've only seen it in 2 different spots.
You familiar she has trouble sleeping? Has had trouble sleeping since May?
I am not.
I want to talk about Blue Star. You know what Blue Star is?
I know what it is, yes. I've never been trained on it or used it myself, but I do know what it is, yes.
And you've been the lead detective in a number of cases, correct?
My situation's kind of unique. I've never been assigned as a detective in the detective division. A lot of times people during their career, they go into the detective division and subsequently they're promoted and they may go back out to the patrol section and then come back maybe sometime. I was never assigned to the detective section until I came in as a lieutenant. So that is why, like some of that training, like the evidence technician training and the crime scene training, I've never had myself because I was never assigned as a detective. So that's why when you say the Blue Star, like I know what that is, but I've never used it myself or been trained to use it.
You were in the bathroom as it was being used in this case, were you not?
In the bathroom? Not
Skylar,
as they were actively using it. I was there at the house that night, but I wasn't in the bathroom actively as they're using it.
Not when you and the other deputies and Detective Carter were waiting for it to light up?
I don't know exactly at what moment. There were several of the officers there. I know I was, there was times I was downstairs speaking with the family. I don't know at exactly what moment I was in the bathroom.
Do you remember detectives laughing about having the Blue Star light up in the bathroom?
No, detectives wouldn't have been, if they laughed, it wouldn't have been for the reason you're inferring.
Can you play that clip, please?
Hang on. That's right, John.
It's the voice of Detective Carter, correct?
Yes.
And someone said, hang on.
I'm sorry?
Hang on, John. Someone said, hang on, John. That's you, right?
Could have been myself or John Smith. Sergeant Smith was there also, and his name is John.
So you're denying that you were in the bathroom there? Would you heard your voice in that?
I'm not denying that I was not in the bathroom of the house that night because I know I was in the bathroom of the house that night. I don't think I understand exactly what you're asking.
Well, that was a deputy laughing about a bloodbath. That was his comment. There's a bloodbath and there's a big laugh. Did you hear that?
I heard a laugh, and I think what you're, I think I even recognized the voice possibly, and I think it was the shock at seeing such an indication, as they call it, from the Blue Star.
Well, the prosecutor's DNA expert, Amy DeLayer, testified that household cleaning products make Blue Star light up. You were aware of that, weren't you?
No, I've not been allowed to see any of the testimony or hear anything that was said prior to my time here.
But you're aware that household cleaning products make Blue Star light up?
I am not, no.
Okay. May I see the padding carpet sample that you had, Sergeant Smith? If you're okay with me touching it, I can. That's fine.
There's
Matter to me.
gloves right there.
I'm okay, as long as the court's okay with it.
Matter to me.
going to represent to you, this is a carpet sample that Sergeant Smith testified to. This is padding under that sample, okay?
Yes, sir.
And he got off the stand and he showed this to the jury, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, both sides, I believe. This is the back of the carpet, and this is the front of the carpet. And he referred to a little, what looks like could be a little blood stain right here. Okay. And he flipped the carpet over, and he said that he believed that there was a lot of blood saturated into that pad on the back of the carpet because Blue Star lit up on that. Were you there when he did that?
I was in the house, but I don't recall where I was when he did that, no.
I played sports. I've had bloody noses, blood. You ever gotten blood on a shirt? Have you?
Yes.
You ever gotten blood on like a light colored shirt?
Yes.
Blood on shirts that were this color, light green.
I have it on light green just because I'm not a light green person, but
Blood doesn't just dissipate, does it?
it turns a darker color. After it's been there for a while, it turns, I would like to, a black, darker color. But if it's by dissipate, do you mean evaporate or what are you?
Yeah, does it just go away?
There,
2 months?
there can be stains from blood, yes.
Well, we don't want the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to believe that Skylar's dad or Schuyler cut the carpet up before you got there and cleaned the pad or the back of the carpet. They didn't do that. The carpet was not cut when you arrived, was it?
That's correct, it was not cut.
And you were not aware back on July 24th when you were in the home that Blue Star illuminates when household cleaning products or other things come in contact with it, correct?
Correct.
There was testimony also about a footprint that was found right near Skylar's bedroom door. Are you familiar with that?
The testimony, no, but I do remember hearing talk that night of a footprint being there, but I'm not familiar with the testimony in that regard.
And nothing between that spot on the carpet footprint and the bathroom, correct? Nothing in that hallway?
Nothing what?
No blood found in that hallway?
I know there was blood found in the hallway. I don't recall exactly where it was, the location.
Are we talking
There
about
were photographs, I know.
we talking about something in addition to what Sergeant Smith referred to as a footprint?
I believe yes.
Was it over near the bathroom?
I don't recall where it was, and without seeing the photos, I don't recall.
About 15 feet away from each other? That bathroom and Skylar's bedroom about 15 feet from each other?
That sounds fair, yes.
So are we to believe that she cleaned off her foot, or that it just dried, or she jumped into the bathroom or to that bathroom spot? No other footprints in the hallway, right?
I don't, again, with that, if you could show me photos of what you're referring to, I might be able to answer, but
When we take a break, I might be able to grab some photos for you.
thank you.
You took DNA swabs on the bathroom wall, correct?
I believe they did, yes.
And they were negative for blood.
Again, I don't know, and I'm sorry, I'm not on the crime scene unit, so when they do that part, I'm not even certified to do that part, so I don't know a lot of these answers, and it's not because I don't want to answer the question, it's just that I don't know those answers. I wasn't participating in those, and so I don't know whether or not there was blood on the Q-tips or the swabs from the wall. I don't know.
It's not odd, you'd agree that it's not odd for a woman to bleed after pregnancy, correct?
Correct.
And there was no Annabelle blood found anywhere in the house, you know that, correct?
No what blood?
Annabelle's blood was not found anywhere in the house, you know that, correct?
I do not know.
As you sit here today, you have no information that it was found anywhere in the home.
Right, I did not do any of the blood work and do not know the results of the blood work.
Did you pull the pharmacy records that indicated that back in April, Schuyler had been given a prescription for birth control from Hilltop?
No, I did not pull that pharmacy record.
In the search that the prosecutor put up in his opening and multiple times since about how to get rid of a baby. It was in quotes as if it was a definitive search. Do you remember that?
Correct.
Now, you agreed on direct, I believe, that she was somewhat vague on what she actually did search. Is that correct?
Yes.
And she wasn't really sure of the language when she was talking to you, right?
Correct.
She said she didn't act upon it, correct?
Yes.
She said that she didn't do any further research, correct?
Correct.
She said she couldn't recall the exact search, right?
Yes, sir.
And she gave you her phone voluntarily on the 14th of July,
14th,
right?
yes, she did.
You took her computer, right?
Yes.
iPad,
Yes.
Kindle.
I believe, yes, a Kindle as well.
She said, hey, one of the devices, I think, was dying, had a low battery. She said you can have the phone charger or whatever charger you need, right?
Yes.
No search that the prosecutor put up about how to get rid of a baby was ever found. Is that correct?
Correct.
Prosecutor said Schuyler never looked for baby clothes or made any inquiries about babies, something to that effect. That's not true. Detective Carter's report, which you reviewed, indicated that in the cookies on the phones, there's something about baby.pedia or babypedia.com, something to that effect. You remember that?
I do not, but if I could, I still have this here if you could refer.
Sure. I don't, may I?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
For the record, page 40. Some search about on cookies from Babypedia or something like that, right?
Yes, it says there are searches for Hilltop, OBGYN, and babypedia.com.
Thank you.
Mr. Rickers, I apologize for interrupting. Probably makes sense for us to break for lunch now. Mr. Knippen, stay a position on that?
Probably depends on, because I don't have a lot of redirect. I don't know how much more Mr. Rickers has.
It shouldn't be much longer, but if the court wants to break, Your Honor, I don't want to hold the jury.
Yeah, let's do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and break for lunch at this point. Remember the admonitions that I have previously given you. Do not begin discussing the case amongst yourselves. Do not begin to think about how the case should be decided. Do not do any research or view any media about this. If one or two or more of you want to go to lunch together, that's fine. Or if you end up staying in the jury room over the lunch break, that's fine also. Just make sure that you do not discuss the case. Also, you may notice when we return that we may have a little more security than we had when we started today. This has absolutely nothing to do with the evidence and is not anything that you need to consider as part of your deliberations. It doesn't have anything to do with the participants in the trial. This is on me because I am exhausting my patience with folks in the gallery that do not seem to conduct themselves in a manner that is consistent with the dignity of these proceedings. Mr. Mullens, you can take the jury out. Counsel approach. You can be seated. Let's plan on being back here at 1:40, and we will resume then. We're in recess.